I'm Irwin Sternberg, and I'm with the World Consciousness Alliance. Can you reimagine a great new world with so much love, hope, giving back, a world that we once again can come together as one? I can see that. Hopefully you can.
Greetings, dear friends. This is the World Consciousness Alliance, and my name is Ami Hughes. Welcome to the next episode in our series, Renaissance of Humanity, Conversations for Change. Today, our guest is entrepreneur extraordinaire. His name is Irwin Sternberg. This is the man from Baltimore in the United States that revolutionized men's fashion in neckwear with innovative artwork based on the life of Jerry Garcia, the lead guitarist and singer of the Grateful Dead. They became so famous under his company, which he founded, called Stonehenge Limited. His neckwear collections raised millions of dollars for various worthy causes. He came to be accepted at the University of Baltimore, and he graduated with a degree in marketing. Many years later, the University of Baltimore invited our guest back and honored him as a distinguished entrepreneur of the year for his cause-related neckwear programs. So without further ado, let's welcome Irwin Sternberg.
Thank you so much. And I must say to you, when listening to you speak and introduce me, I sit here and I have kind of butterflies because I never ever thought of myself as anything other than a tie company trying to create programs that were going to be beautiful for men and women to wear, but soon understood that there was another way that you can create beauty by helping others. And I must also say, thank you for your kind words on what you shared. If my mother could only be here now, I think that would bring a tear to my eye. And the reason I went back a year was because of health. And I was so embarrassed that as I went through high school, I really became a class clown because I was put into a class that I was somewhat ashamed of. But when you were talking about the University of Baltimore, everyone was saying to me, where are you going to college? I never thought I could ever go to college. I never did. And that's when I ran home and asked my mother, where am I going? And no college accepted me. And then when she went to the University of Baltimore, that's when she pleaded to let me in, and they did. And I'll never forget that. That was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And years later, the rest is history.
Irwin, it's not that you were not a very well-liked student at school. You were loved by your peers. But what was it in you that didn't allow you to study? And what changed later on?
Well, it was because I got really sick and I went back a year. Back then, schools didn't advance you if your grades were not good. So they kept me back. Today, I think most schools advance you no matter what your grades are. But back then, it was a very difficult thing for people to experience. So all of a sudden, my friends went forward. My new friends were much younger than me. But that never stopped me because I realized that by me being who I was shielding and hiding what I didn't want people to know about the classes that I was in. And I think what got me through everything was I believed that I could do it, but it was someone later in life that made me believe that I could do it. He would be called a mentor in life, which I would encourage everyone to have.
When did that turning point come in your life?
When did that happen? When I graduated college, I knew the only time I could ever possibly travel would be after college. And the little money that I had, I went away for 3 months. I ran out of money. I came back, and a dear friend of mine said, I may be able to get you a job at a company called Joseph Bank. It's pretty well known worldwide. And he introduced me to the owner. The owner hired me. I thought I was going to be there for 3 months to save money to go back, and I ended up being there for 14 years. During that period of time, one of the presidents of the company, his name was Dan Kaplan, really pounded me and said, Irwin, you could be anything you want. And it got to a point that I started to believe it. And when the company was being sold, I moved to New York to go to work for a Thai company. And I realized then that what he instilled in me and made me believe, I really did think I could walk through any door and create anything. The power of never giving up. And for all your listeners out there, this interview is really about the world coming together to try to do good things, to try to give back. That's why this alliance was so precious to me, for me to meet with you and to say a little about my background. But because of that, it took me into another dimension of trying to figure out how to be creative in many different ways. And I would encourage every one of your listeners out there. Life is not easy. Life is difficult. People don't always get breaks. Many don't. But if you really believe in yourself, if you believe in your convictions, if you believe in never giving up, which was one of my neckwear programs from a famous man later on that we did, his motto was, don't give up, don't ever give up. Find a mentor, and I promise you, if life is going to be different for you, that will be much, much more of a vision for you to see clearer and to go through your journey in life by never giving up and believing in your convictions, giving back, and just making it a better world for all.
I do hope, Irwin, that your dear mom was still around to see your success.
She passed away. Oh, yes, she did. I'm sorry. She passed away in the early part of my career. And so did my father, and they did see it. Much more came later, but I believe they, as we always hear people say, they're with us, and I believe she's with us too.
So basically, it was starting with this Thai company that led you then to start up your own business with the name Stonehenge. And why Stonehenge?
Yes.
Stonehenge Limited.
Well, it's so funny you should say that, because the Thai company that first brought me on board, and I was used to big corporate business, and I said to the owner when I started my first day, he said to me, I said to him, no, what is my title? And he said to me something I'll never forget. He said, what would you like your title to be? Corporate America doesn't do that. And I went, that's a weird question. He's telling me what my title is going to be. I said, well, I think I should be president. Well, he was right. You know what he said? He said, whatever it's going to take to get a customer to call you back and get the sale, then that's what I want you to be. And I said, well, I should be the president. And he was right. Everyone calls the president back. What made me think of Stonehenge as the name? A year and a half later, after I was with him, one of the men that worked there, a dear, dear man, came to me and he said, I think we could start our own company. And we did. We left and we started a company called Stonehenge Limited. Little did I know it was being honored in our industry for a great name, because most of the materials for silk back then were coming in from England. And Stonehenge, an English monument, a historic location, has the history of strength, time, longevity, quality. So Stonehenge for me was everything we did. We made neckwear by hand. All our piece goods came from England. And it turned out to be a name that not only was a name that was great for our company, but it really made me feel a sense of pride just from the name itself. And I've continued to live on with those qualities of just the name. And that's how we started the name Stonehenge.
I see. So that's how this whole collection started, your various collections started. Who would have thought, though, that the tie business or neckwear business would end up being so successful, where you would actually give back millions and millions in dollars to charity, to worthy causes?
Well, you're right. But at the very beginning, it wasn't like that. At the very beginning, when we started Stonehenge, everyone was in the same situation. There were over 105 neckwear companies. When we started, we were numbered 101, and we were only doing basic traditional neckwear, like here's a Stonehenge tie from England, the piece goods, but it didn't have any meaning to it. It was just designs like any other designer would design a pattern, no matter who the designer was. And that's what Stonehenge was doing. But the traditional business, which I was in, started to go down, and we had to make quick decisions. And I had a young lady who worked for me who was a really big fan of a man by the name of Jerry Garcia. He was the lead guitarist of the Grateful Dead. And she told me that he was coming to New York. His artwork was going to be seen for the first time in the city. And she mentioned to me, it's another thing, I remember so many things that make me feel great about where we got to. She said to me, you always told your staff that you can always find a way to do things. And she's trying to get tickets to go to this art museum, but it was closed, no tickets or anything. She said, is there any way you think you can get me in? So I went over to the phone. I called the owner of the gallery and I said, look, my name's Irwin Sternberg. I have a tie company. Never thinking I was ever going to do anything. And I only said, I have a tie company. Do you think I may be able to come in and see Jerry Garcia's art, the lead guitarist of the Grateful Dead? That's world renowned, as big as the Beatles and Rolling Stones. And he said, yes, sir. How many tickets would you like? And I went, well, and I asked the young lady how many she wanted, and I asked her if I could go. I did. I saw the art. And because of the popularity of this man, the art that I started to see had images of what we did in neckwear at one time. So I had her call the agent of this man, this musician. He thought I was out of my mind because a rock and roll musician would never wear a tie, back then particularly. And they allowed me to do it. And by the first year, it became the #1 selling neckwear in the world. And it was in every newspaper in the world, almost on every front page. Jerry Garcia, a neckwear line. They thought we were crazy. When we launched it at Bloomingdale's that first day, people drove from all over the country just to get a collection. They had news programs from all over the world, interviewing people, and people on the floor was saying, and I still have that, if Jerry's name was on it, I'll buy it because his name's on it. So the Jerry Garcia collection was made in designs based on Jerry's
in shadow. Let's take a look at it again.
So the Jerry Garcia collections was based on Jerry Garcia's artwork. No one really even knew he was a painter, and that's why the tickets were sold out at this gallery. There were lines around the block and media from all over the world. And then when I walked in there, I saw designs that reflected some of the designs that we created. So we contacted his agent, They thought we were out of our mind. Jerry Garcia wearing a tie. He hadn't worn a tie in 25 years. And when we convinced them that we should do it, by the end of the first year, it became the #1 selling neckwear in the world. And it was based on Jerry Garcia's artwork, how it was recreated into the men's neckwear.
So what did you see in this artwork? Because Stonehenge became the company, it sort of evolutionized. I won't use the word revolutionized, I will use the word evolutionized the business of neckwear, ties. What was it? Because your company transposed this artwork and made it into the success.
Well, it was simple. Either you rewrote the script for any business. If you didn't rewrite your script on new creativity, because the traditional neckwear was dying, it was becoming more casual looking, more not designer, but more abstract designs. The so-called basic stripes and paisleys were no longer, and that was my business. So I took similar designs that we did and recreated it in this beautiful color that the industry never sold before, with a name that was so popular. And little did we know, overnight it became an instant success. Through those collections that we developed, we learned how to create new excitement, events, giving back. We gave back a portion of the proceeds to Jerry's Art Institute, where he studied. So we then realized there's a whole new market out there on how to capture an audience with reasons for what I used to call a why to buy. Why is someone going to want to go over and buy that? And there's a million other things that they can buy. Jerry Garcia program became our first collection of a new revision on how we wrote our script to become, I think, the company we became. It was Jerry's confidence that he put in me to really make me realize that we could be anything we wanted, which I always believed we could do, because it was so powerful. We had presidents, we had articles from London, the Prime Minister, from the British Parliament, members of the British Parliament are all wearing Jerry Garcia ties, articles from around the world. I mean, that's how popular he was. And then when I saw the media and I saw the press and the attention, and I got interviews after interviews, how did you do that? How did Jerry allow you to do it? And we found out later, Jerry was so honored for us to do it because he was an artist. And this was his love, how it was recreated into a fashion statement. So the Jerry Garcia ties was the first collection that we started on a monster of very exciting programs.
And there was also a monster giving back as well. What does it mean to you to actually share your success and give back the way you have been doing?
Well, I always, even, and I'll share my story with the Dalai Lama, but I always, even to this day, I only thought of myself as a tie company. And I really do mean that. But I now also thrive on how much we can give back, because actually I remember when I went to work with that tie company, the woman who gave me the check, my first week's paycheck, she walked over to me and she said, don't forget, 10% of your salary should go back to a charity. And I'm saying, you got to be kidding. I have 2 young babies. I'm just barely making it. But she always she always told me that. So throughout my life, I've always believed that by giving back, so much more is being received. And that has been proven to be true in my life, even during the most difficult times of my life. And I have lived by that. I breathe by that. I try to instill that in my children, my family, but still, I still only think of myself at that time as a tie company, which is really nice because I know how much love and respect and how we've helped so many people throughout the world just through a simple tie.
But this was just not a tie company. It was just, you were giving back more than a tie.
Well, you're right. It had a meaning behind every design, every single design. And I can fast forward, besides the Frank Sinatra neckwear and the Miles Davis, which is world renowned. We did the artwork of those individuals as well, but I'll just share some that will give you the example of why a tie isn't a tie. It's been written up in so many different ways on how it's helped millions of people. And I can't say there's one favorite, because every one of them are my children, and every one of them are my babies, and every collection had a different sentimental value to me. But there was one collection, very quickly, I'll go through a few of them if you like. We did a program called the Cocktail Collection. The Cocktail Collection were images under a microscope of alcohol beverages and different drinks, sodas and juice. I went down to Dallas, Texas to meet with the president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I told them I had a really interesting way that we thought we could help raise money. Maybe I didn't present it right. They didn't like it very much. And they said, we can't use anything like this. And I knew that I was right. And remember what I said earlier, don't give up, don't ever give up. Well, I went back, and the woman came over and said, the president, if you have another idea, you come back one day. Well, 3 months later, I asked if I could come back. I explained it in another way what this was. The concept was, when people wear this tie, the concept is, let this be the only way to tie one on before driving. Support Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She cried. She put her arms around me, because everyone at Mothers Against Drunk Driving had someone who lost a member of a family or a friend. Fast forward, a year later, it became the #1 selling neckwear in America. And by the end of the second year, close to the second year, we raised almost $2 million for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, making it the largest concept and promotion they ever had. And they even changed the way that organization reacted just from that simple tie. And we sold millions around the world. So that's where, is it the design? No, it's the concept. It was giving back. And remember, I mentioned to you, we had many events. And when we had a cocktail collection event, I didn't want celebrities. Who were my guests? My guests were victims who lost a member of their family. And they were at a table at Macy's and stores around the country. And there were 4 or 5 in a row that lost a member. And they were signing each tie with many, many people in line wanting to buy it. And they were writing, thank you for your support. And these were the victims, and these were my heroes. No celebrities here. So that was a program that also just took me into another mindset on where we could go from there. And there were many of them like that.
Yes, I mean, they are such incredible collections, and I don't even know what to choose to actually talk about. Your ties for Tibet, I mean, you were not only raising funds for your local charities within the United States, but you look further afield as well to the people of Tibet. Talk to us about that briefly.
Well, that's pretty fascinating also. That program was a program that a dear friend who believed in similar ideas about peace and health and love asked if I would do a program for Tibet. So we did Tibetan designs from a carpet, many generations old, and we gave a portion of the proceeds back to Tibetans that needed health care. Little did I know, eventually I received a call from a representative of the Dalai Lama who heard about that and invited me, I think it was in Louisville, Kentucky. And while I was there, he called me up on the podium and he talked to me in front of everyone, thanking us for our efforts to help support causes like healthcare for people. And in this case, it was Tibetans. I don't know if you could see this. I do have it. And this is how my collections were. Okay. I know there's a glare.
Yeah, there's a glare. Okay, let's stop there. Irwin Sternberg, your life story is absolutely fascinating. So then, your ties for Tibet collection got the attention of the Dalai Lama, and you got a personal invitation from him to meet him. Let's take a look at that.
Whenever I hear anyone saying that, it always still reminds me I'm just a dye company. And whenever I tell this story, it makes me really feel special. I actually, whenever I talk about it, have goosebumps because someone said, whenever you're touched by a spiritual leader, it comes from within. And I think my excitement on this program certainly comes from within. And we've done many different spirituality types of programs as well. But I think it did get me an invitation with the Dalai Lama because he obviously heard about a program that we created from images of Tibetan carpets that had spiritual themes or themes from Tibetan carpets. And we gave a portion of the proceeds back to Tibetans that we heard needed healthcare. And shortly thereafter, I received a call saying that His Holiness would like to meet with me. And I fly down to Louisville, Kentucky, and he actually called me up on a podium and introduced my program, the neckwear program. I gave him one of the frame collections, and he kind of blessed us for what we were doing to help others. And I don't know if you can see that, but
national event ties for both.
And so I meet with the Dalai Lama, and I leave again saying to myself, I'm on a greater mission, not me. It's a mission to figure out new creative ways to do things that help others. And those were some of the early collections that led us to create wonderful programs for world-renowned charities like the Christopher Reeves Foundation.
How did meeting His Holiness the Dalai Lama change you in any way?
I realized, and this may sound crazy, but I realized that there was more of a power within on what people can do to create whatever their journeys are in life. And the reason I say that, when I was flying back from meeting the Dalai Lama, I was telling a woman next to me that whenever I mention the Dalai Lama's name, I get these goosebumps, and I didn't understand it. And a woman in front of me heard that, and she said, and leaned over, and she said, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but to overhear, but anytime someone meets someone of such spirituality, it lies within. And to this day, even now when I talk about it, I have this very special feeling that something great happened, not for me, but something great happened for others that may benefit, or they too can feel some sort of way that they can encourage a help and do things as well. But the Dalai Lama, meeting him was certainly one of the highest honors in my life.
Let's look at your moon rock collection, designs or artwork from moon rocks, from the moon. Let's hear about it.
That was, like I said before, and thank you for sharing that. I had so many of them, and so many of them were just exciting. We took, once again, images under the microscope, and they were of the actual moon rocks that NASA sent to our scientists. And we recreated the crystals of these magnificent rocks, almost as if you're looking through a kaleidoscope, how you see all these beautiful crystals. So those crystals on every moon rock that we got back was an educational hang tag of how we created that particular mission, Apollo 16, Apollo 17. And on the 25th anniversary, another amazing moment, and it's only a tie. On the 25th anniversary of the moonwalk, everyone in New York, everywhere was trying to get Buzz Aldrin and Alan Shepard to make personal appearances. And Alan Shepard and Buzz Aldrin made an appearance for me at Macy's, where they had several thousand people waiting in line to purchase a moon rock tie that Buzz Aldrin was signing of the actual crystal of that rock that was brought back 25 years ago. And it was signed, as I mentioned, from Buzz Aldrin and Alan Shepard. And on each tie had an educational factor of what it is. So, which, by the way, I think it's also interesting for your listeners to hear that not just did we create great programs that helped and benefit others, but we created programs with great history and educational value, because millions of these ties were sold, and each rock had a history of where that moon rock came back from and who that astronaut was and what mission it came from. And that became, I also remember the president of Macy's, when introducing Buzz Aldrin, saying, and Buzz Aldrin saying, "Is this live?" And the president said, "This is by far the most exciting event in the history of Macy's," and it was just a tie.
So your tie company, it's not just a tie company, not only raise millions of dollars for charity worthy causes, but you also have an impact on education. Just a little more about that, please.
Well, I think it does have an impact. I've been invited to schools and colleges to speak on how younger people can become entrepreneurs and never giving up. And it does have an effect, because if you can incorporate, see, designers today, and I know many of them, they create a beautiful design and that's it. We create what we think is a beautiful design, but we put educational values into everything we incorporate, where they can learn from. They can go onto someone's website. They can help donate to that individual cause. And it has brought wide recognition for many of these charities. And we hear from many of them around the world. And one is more inspiring than the other. And there were so many of them, I have to tell you. There are so many that bring a very soft part to my life, whether it was children that we recreated images of their drugs that were helping to save their lives for the Johns Hopkins Children's Center, or other doodles that kids created that we did for the Children's Miracle Network and raised tons of money for them. And we had them in fashion shows. So they were a part of everything we did. But the neckwear, you can't do one thing though. Everything we do, we had to create the beauty of the product. The beauty of the product was important, but then the educational and the why to buy and the images of what we did are fascinating.
When you look at our youth today, what do you think is needed to bring in a revolution or evolution in the way they are thinking and in the way they are living life? What would be the importance of the youth? How can they get better in a world such as today, so full of challenges?
It is filled with tons of challenges. I don't know if anyone can really answer that. I can only tell you what I believe in and what happened to me. I believe new creativity is more important than anything at any time in our lives. I think the I have the saying, yesterday's ideas brings yesterday's business. No one wants yesterday's business. Yesterday was when people were struggling, many going out of business. Today, it's all about, and I don't like to use the word rewriting your script. We all like to think of rewriting our script, but it's all about new creativity, new reasons to reinvent the wheel. Maybe what helped me, the more I gave, the more I received. But the more I received was much greater than the more I gave, because I was part of these events. I was walking down the runway with these little kids wearing the ties of what drug they were taking to help save their lives.
Irwin, your thoughts on philanthropy in humanity?
Extremely important, and mostly because of what the World Consciousness Alliance represents. It's everything they believe. It's humanity. It's inspirational beliefs. It's giving back. It's bringing more peace and love within us all, the power within. Humanity is just that. If the world doesn't come together and they respond together as a unit instead of a me, and realize that everyone has a heart, they have a life, and that they should be thought of and heard, I think we're in trouble if we don't come together and give more love and peace like what this organization is doing. There should be more organizations like that.
So now we come to this. How did you find yourself lying in a hospital bed next to Christopher Reeve?
You did your homework. Another fascinating story, but this one, for all your listeners out there, this is one that maybe will answer one of your questions that you just shared. How does one do things? How do they move forward? One of our Thai programs was called Jimmy V, which his motto was, don't give up, don't ever give up. Well, back in 1995, I had a stroke, and it was under some anesthesia, and I was sent to a hospital. And that same day, Christopher Reeve had his accident. For those who may not know Christopher Reeve anywhere around the world, he was our Superman, a very famous celebrity and actor, a wonderful man. Well, when I had my stroke, Chris was admitted to that hospital, and they didn't have rooms for celebrities. His therapy was also in the same room where many were, but he was right next to me. And as bad as I thought I was, Chris, the only thing he could move was his eyes. And when I left the hospital, I had someone send him a tie. And Chris didn't want to live at that time. He had a trachea. And my friends were very upset with me. Why would you send a man in his situation a tie? And maybe it was my intuition, but maybe it was me saying, I'm not going to give up. There's, out of my bad, something good is going to happen. So for everyone listening, out of whatever bad you may have experienced, something positive can happen. So I sent the tie to his room. I signed on the back of the tie, Mr. Reeve, whatever you do, don't give up. Don't ever give up. As Jimmy Valvano's words of wisdom has always been within the world of sports. Fast forward, and I get goosebumps when I even think of this. A year and a half later, we launched the Christopher Reeve neckwear, raising funds for spinal cord injuries. And my guest was Christopher Reeve and his wife, who came in wearing my ties. So I had that same feeling like mad. I went back. My convictions were strong. Nothing was going to stop me. My friends thought I was crazy, but I believed in something. We have to continue to believe in our convictions. And I did. And thank God I did. And we created the Christopher Reeve neckwear based on images of his famous celebrity friends from Paul Newman, Glenn Close. And I also wanted to make sure we incorporated people with spinal cords. That gave me doodles that we recreated into the neckwear designs.
Essentially, every collection that you created always was connected to a charity, to a cause.
Correct. Correct. And I've been proud of that.
What would you say about ethics in business? Do you think that your ethics has really stood you in such good stead where it revolutionized what you were doing with a simple tie company?
I do. I really do. But I think everyone can do that. The world can do it. I think I mentioned to you once before, even a coach from a team, a major league team, can do it. Think about the hundreds of millions of dollars, the billions of dollars that are given to athletes. If one coach would ever hear this interview and say, I agree, and tell that athlete that's getting 5 million, 25 million, $100 million, if one athlete would only give back a small percentage of what they're giving, it's not going to affect that at all. But do you know what it's going to mean for your organization and other organizations to spread the word of giving back and love? And it could raise billions of dollars for charities. But most importantly, that one athlete that may never understand anything like that could donate it to the charity of their cause that they can be a part of and start to feel that power within of themselves helping to contribute. Now, that's just a wacky idea, but you asked the question, how does that happen in philanthropy? And it could be with anything, anyone, any product. I think everyone should give a portion of the proceeds back to a charity of their cause that could help someone. And it will make that company stronger.
Now you're taking your Thai company even further. You're bringing in more ideas, more concepts that you are thinking of, which have not been thought about before. Let's look at how you are going to use the word evolutionizing the Thai world or the neckwear world in another direction, your current direction.
That I'm also proud of because that was yesterday, and I think I mentioned to you, it's not what we did yesterday. It's what we do today, and that's what I think gets me excited. And I know there's a few things that we're ready to launch. And by the way, I don't mind. I shared it with my partners. We can actually even launch this program on your show, and I think it's going to be one of the great programs that we have ever developed. All my life, I always wanted to try to figure out what people around the world would like. What would they wear? And I think I shared this with you before. When we created the cocktail collection, we thought, well, everyone in the world needs to drink, whether it's a soda, juice, or a cocktail. So the cocktail collection was created. Then we created the Jimmy V program, which was about sports. And that became our #1 program. We thought everyone in the world would love sports. And that, because of that, we did it with such respect, using athletes' images and doodles. And we raised $1 million for that program. But now we sat back again and we said, what does everyone in the world do or need? Well, right now, as we all know, times are very difficult. It's more confusing. People need more guidance than ever before. So I always believed in a program called Faith, incorporating the world of faith in fashion. And I'm not talking about putting images of whatever they are or pictures. I'm talking about things that people could wear that they can be very proud to be holding or wearing. And what we did was we took in our program called Faith for All. You can now actually see it online, Faith for All. And this is going to be a program that we will be bringing all religions. Slowly, we're going to incorporate them. But we're taking very historic, iconic images, putting it under the microscope, And there'll be images that will really belong to certain people. Like, for an example, we just took, I think this may be the one, this is a face mask, and it's an image, I think, of the rosary. The rosary was given to us by a woman who came to this country in the 20s. And we took her rosary. She was a very spiritual woman. So that rosary now was created into product lines that we're now launching. We're doing Judaism, the Masada Rock, the Wailing Wall, many different faiths and religions, but it is more meaningful. And what we're doing, we're educating what each item was, because another faith doesn't have a clue what that may mean. So we're not trying to say you should be more spiritual. We're not trying to say you should have more faith in your life. We're trying to say faith for all, respect faith for all. Now you can enjoy for the first time, because the only thing anyone could ever wear was a little bit of jewelry, whatever their faith was. Now it's being created in the world of fashion. So Faith for All will be given back to various charities as well. And we've worked on that for many, many years. And we're now launching that now to inspire people to feel that they too can hold on to something, feeling like what I told you about when I talked about the Dalai Lama. I got goosebumps when I think about it. And I believe, I really do, if I'm not, I'm wrong. I too think people will have that feeling when they too wear something like that. And that's called our Faith for All program.
Amazing. I see that you have now, you've moved just simply from producing or manufacturing ties with these beautiful artwork and designs to other items as well. So you're including women's items as well now, because I think the women probably felt very left out.
Well, every collection will add on new faiths. Every collection will add on new icons from that faith. And every collection will add on new product lines. We have the name Faith, not Face, Faith Mask, that will have the spiritual images of whatever that faith may be, called Faith Mask. And we will be incorporating, as you said, different product lines on every new collection as we move forward. This was our first collection. We're just finding our way, and we feel very proud of what our accomplishments have been.
That is truly remarkable, Irwin. You know, here at the World Consciousness Alliance Center, I think you've already gathered that we are not just one faith-based. We embrace humanity as a species of humanity. So as we move forward in life, what is the message that you have for us as a race of humans right now that are experiencing experiences on this planet?
I would say probably the most important is become a better listener. Become a better person on listening to not what is happening in your life, but what may be happening in someone else's world. And by being a better listener, I think you become a better person. Because I think too many people think about me, and what they can do and what they can get. And I'm generalizing, of course. But I think if we were to think about any one thing, I think we need to think about others, how to rewrite that script into a new way of recreating new exciting ways that haven't been developed. You can find it within yourself and find it. You can take a pencil and figure out a way how to make that pencil exciting. I know we've done that. And once you get that feeling that you have accomplished that, then your life will take a totally different turn.
Do you think that these attributes of kindness and compassion, do you think that they actually, can they move societies to be better? Do you think kindness and compassion can actually reach the hearts of humanity? And do you see how can humanity be moved by such actions?
I may be able to answer that in a different way. I think if we don't do that, if we don't change our ways of what you just said about what your alliance is and how people need to start thinking about the world in general by giving back more love, more compassion, and everything else we can put into making it a better world, I think then we will have more difficult times ahead. But I think that many people are already there. They're continuing. And if this moment with any of your audience sparks one person to say, well, the first thing I need is someone to believe in me so I can continue on that journey. That's what we call a mentor. If you have one person that continues to tell you to never give up, that was Jimmy Valvano's Don't Give Up, Don't Ever Give Up. If you feel a way of trying to create excitement for someone, find something that people love and admire and make them a part of your program to give back. And you may be able to find a new formula that will make life a little better and easier for you, but most importantly, will make you a better person.
And as we close today, what excites you the most? How would you like to be remembered?
Well, first I'll say what excites me today. Most of my friends think I'm out of my mind because I'm still actively working, but I get more satisfaction out of this than anything. It excites me to continue to think about new programs, like, if I can just share one more with you, it's called Be Inspired, the Be Inspired podcast. If anyone around the world goes on to the Be Inspired podcast, and I think I told you I may want you on that show one day. It's about everyday people that have gone through adversities, that have had difficult times, but they don't give up and never give up. The stories are so heartfelt that we find people everywhere to share their stories. And people around the world respond. And we have people that would have never shared because they were petrified. And I mentioned to one person, I said, if you only hit one person that learned from you. She said, no, I can't. 2 weeks later, she agreed. It went viral. People were never thanking her enough for sharing her stories about her anorexia. But it's all different people. So we're very much involved with that. And the last one is a program that we're working on, which will launch in about another month, called Are Stonehenge. Our first program was with a company called Ability Connection out of Dallas. It's to help people with disabilities and how what we're doing with augmented reality, this will revolutionize the world of fundraising. No one has ever done this. We're launching it in another month. And this company, we're using the members who have disabilities, creating art, making their art beautiful, and that will be seen worldwide by raising funds for their foundation. So to answer that question, I'm still very actively involved, and I'm loving what I'm doing. And
still very much in the mode of giving. And sharing.
Sure. Everything we do is giving back something for the programs that we're involved with.
Irwin Sternberg, it has been such an honor to talk to you on the World Consciousness Alliance today. Renaissance of Humanity, Conversations for Change. Yes, indeed, there is a renaissance happening. Humanity is beginning to waking up to the true reality of who we truly are, and bringing that into focus where we think about another as a brother and a sister and embracing them with unconditional love. And this is what your life has been all about. Thank you so much.
Well, you are a dear, and I can't thank you enough, as much as I sit here and still say I'm just a tie company. But I understand. I've been blessed, and I'm very humble over the wonderful things that so many people who worked with, this isn't about me, all the people that worked with us should be sitting right by my side and to be honored. But thank you, I do appreciate it. And my message to your audience, folks, whatever it is, don't give up. Don't ever give up. More love, more compassion, more understanding, and we will make it a better world. Thank you.